the why consider a JDE to NetSuite migration. We're going to share some information here today, not only that talks about customers who've made this move, what kind of financial impacts you might experience, but also what kind of functionality you should be expecting from a JD Edwards to NetSuite comparative process. So as we move forward and we consider the migration itself and why a JD Edwards customer would go to the extent of saying, hey, I've got an ERP system in place, maybe it's been here for a long, long time, should I consider something else? Well, these are some themes, right? These are some themes that we've encountered with our customers that we've helped make this move. It's considerations, right? So we all know that the JD Edwards product has been out there for a long time. I first started working with it in the mid-90s, was very excited, great product, comes from RPG roots. And we all know if you're working with JD Edwards Enterprise One today, it's a true open systems platform. So truly, JDE has evolved. But here's what our experience indicates, and that is that sometimes customers haven't grown with the software. So maybe they planned JD Edwards as a robust, dynamic environment that would grow with them and that they would grow with, only to find out that something changed in the business. Could have been a complete directional change, or it could have been something that impacted their growth. Sometimes customers that implemented JD Edwards based on business plans, business models, found out that that didn't materialize. Now they've got a large investment in a software platform that is not driving the value for its cost that they had expected. We're going to talk about an example of that with a specific customer in just a few moments. Other times, companies are coming to the realization now that the way ERP was deployed years ago is not the way SaaS systems are deployed today. And truly, JD Edwards as an on-premise or hosted product is implemented differently than a SaaS solution like NetSuite. And then other times we find that companies have moved away from a certain paradigm maybe they had for a period of time in their business, which was let's get a baseline product, let's build it out, let's make our own, right? Kind of build it at home, develop our own ERP solution. And now what they're doing is stepping back and saying, hey, there's a big cost of ownership with that. Maybe we should consider, now that the environment for ERP with SaaS solutions is very mature, maybe we should be taking a look and investigating how that could drive our business rather than us living with it, maintaining it, and developing it for the future. So these are some of the windows of opportunity that customers look at. They begin to think to themselves, hey, should we consider this migration? Moving on from there, I would talk with you about a story. Crazy Shirts, a great company, originally based in Honolulu, Hawaii. Any of you that have vacationed in Hawaii have probably seen a retail shop for Crazy Shirts. They're all over on the island. There's a number of them here in the United States as well. And this company, many years ago, originally purchased JD Edwards because they had large scale-up requirements. They recognized JD Edwards as a tier 1 solution. They were a mid-market company themselves, but really invested in the JD Edwards software to help them with their planned growth model, where they wanted to be. They knew they needed a flexible product. They knew they needed something that was configurable, adaptable, able to change. And then as time went on, there were some things that happened within the business. What they determined was that they weren't able to achieve some of the growth metrics, some of the business metrics that they had originally planned for. And what that ultimately meant to them is that they had a very flexible system, a very dynamic system that they had implemented, but it was very costly to maintain. And their business wasn't changing as they expected it to. And so what they've started to do is reevaluate this process, like some of you on the line and with our webinar today might be doing as well. Should we reevaluate our ERP platform? Crazy Shirts is going through that process right now. What I found in interviewing Scott Sutherland about this process, and I've known Scott for a number of years, but what I really appreciated were some insights that he shared, because this company has been familiar using on-premise platforms for quite some time. They've recently started looking into SaaS platforms. They started with a non-ERP solution around expense management. They implemented that. It was their first SaaS experience. Now they're evaluating ERP to do the very same thing. And here's some insights that Scott shared that I thought were interesting. SaaS is about functionality. Software as a service in ERP is about the functionality that the product drives. You don't have to make infrastructure decisions. And Scott found that very freeing from his perspective. The ownership requirements from his standpoint as the CFO became much easier, whether it was an expense management solution or an ERP solution. The other thing that I thought was insightful, and that I think even Scott was a little surprised, he felt that the SaaS model where you've got upgrades that are pushed out to you as opposed to you figuring out a calendar and deciding, 2 years from now, we're going to do an upgrade. Well, if you have a SaaS product, you know that those come at a more rapid cadence than that. With NetSuite, there's 2 upgrades a year that are provided. Their experience with this, he initially thought was going to be challenging, right? How do I deal with multiple upgrades? But instead, what he found is it was a really good experience. His insight was that the SaaS model forces the advancement of adopting new functionality. And that was an insight to me, and I think it was a little surprising to him as well. At the end of the day, it comes down to them paying for the product as they grow and as it grows. And he felt that that was a refreshing experience. So the 2 things that really stood out were his insight around SaaS decisions being about functionality, not about hardware, not about infrastructure. Kind of set those off to the side, make your decision about what business processes you need to support. And then the benefit to him of having those SaaS upgrades was that it kind of kept them on leading practices for their business, whether that was expense management or in the ERP side. So this story that comes from Crazy Shirts is why they are choosing to go down a path of evaluating ERP. So you may find some similar things. Here's what we've encountered with other customers. You know, the IDC research indicates that there's going to be a lot more change in the industry. There's going to be a lot more customers that are making investments in ERP solutions and moving those products from on-premise environments or cloud or hosted environments into the cloud. But why would they do that? Well, there's a number of reasons to consider. We find these somewhat consistent across the board. One is that what we brought up with Crazy Shirts earlier, they experienced minimal growth or even some contraction. They made a purchase of a tier 1 solution in JD Edwards, but the growth plans didn't materialize the way they expected to support the investment and the functional requirements and needs. So they found themselves paying for modules that they didn't use. They found themselves paying maintenance for functionality that wasn't required. The total cost of ownership line item in your evaluation process definitely jumps over to the SaaS side of the house. SaaS has some extreme benefits from a TCO perspective. We're actually going to share some examples that I think are very realistic from a JD Edwards to NetSuite perspective. But often JD Edwards customers find themselves running older versions of the software, or two releases back, or multiple releases back, or running on older hardware because of capital expenditure requirements necessary to move forward if it's on premise, or because of just the impact that upgrades bring to their business. Subsidiaries who report to other parent companies. We're finding numerous companies where they're running JDE today and reporting to a non-JDE parent company, and they're finding that if they were to change their ERP platform, it actually provides value, options, lower TCO for them, makes that subsidiary company hold on to a little more of their precious profit dollars, and still gives them that great ability to report upline. You'll even see an example later of something similar to this, but subsidiaries, small subsidiaries or international subsidiaries who report up to a JD Edwards corporate entity. We see a number of customers that rather than deploying JD Edwards to their smaller remote facilities across the country are looking for something like NetSuite to be implemented quick with a low total cost of ownership and report up to JD Edwards. You'll see an example that we have with a success story around that a little bit later. And then, of course, I shared earlier, the automatic upgrades that are available to teams every year, those become very attractive when companies start looking at the long-term total cost of ownership around maintaining and managing those. It continues, right? So we find historically, JD Edwards customers have loved the integration capability of the product. You've got flat file integration. You can do import exports. You've got the old Z file integration. You have APIs. You can go as far as you want. You use orchestrator integration. That's wonderful, right? But what our customers are discovering is the integration capability built into that Oracle platform and foundation of NetSuite are incredible. You can still purpose some of the very simple integrations that you have today, the kind of point-to-point activity, all the way up to very sophisticated API level integrations, and deploying them is amazingly fast. On top of that, you have partners that develop integrations into their products. So rather than you having to be the author and completer of all of that, you get the benefit of other businesses in the Oracle ecosystem. A built-in e-commerce platform is something that a number of our customers look to as well. When they're working in a JD Edwards environment, there is no built-in e-commerce capability. That capability always has to be looked for outside of the solution to provide an omni-channel experience. You want CRM, you want the ability to support the customer inside the four walls, the customer remote, the customer online. That can be challenging from time to time. So what I'd like to do is just point out that the built-in e-commerce solution that's part of JD Edwards, that's part of NetSuite, really helps customers have a one-stop shop around all of this. The last couple of items I'm going to share, and then, I talked earlier about what some companies are doing to integrate as well as adjust the NetSuite platform so that it meets their business requirements. Perry is on the line, and he's going to talk as we wrap up this slide about what some other companies are doing from a customization perspective or even an enhancement perspective so that NetSuite, although it's a SaaS-based ERP solution, totally meets exactly what they're looking for out of the box. So user-friendly capabilities, mobile compliance, workflows, dashboards, all of that's built in to the product, very user definable, so we don't have a big technology project to deploy those. And then, of course, the last item before Perry shares is just the administration of the solution, right? We find it to be much less expensive administering a NetSuite environment, training users, keeping the system up to date than we do with a JD Edwards environment. So from that perspective, cloud's going to continue to play an even greater, more dominant role. It's going to drive that flexibility. It's going to drive faster innovation. And I'd like Perry maybe to share with you his experience in helping customers through that exact process.
Thanks, Mars. So last webinar we had, it came up, a lot of questions came up about flexibility of NetSuite, tailoring NetSuite, development into NetSuite. So NetSuite is a platform. So I'm an accountant by trade, been implementing accounting systems for many years. I cannot script anything. I don't know any development, maybe a little bit of SQL scripting, but that's not relevant with NetSuite. But I'm able to add any custom field that I want into NetSuite in pretty much every single window that I want. That's drop-down fields, freeform fields, nested fields, multi-select fields, checkboxes, currency fields, all sorts of fields. So I do have a story I'll tell that I had a client call me today. So this is something that happened today, and they were asking me about purchasing the Dunnings module for NetSuite. And I asked them, what is it you're looking to do with this module? And so the simple item they wanted to do was that if an invoice was 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 90 days past due, they wanted an email to go out to that customer saying that you have an invoice that's 90 days past due and so forth. So I recommended against them purchasing a Dunnings module because this is very simple functionality. And with workflows and custom fields, we're going to be able to, within 8 to 12 hours of time, I scoped this out today, 8 to 12 hours of time, create some workflows inside of NetSuite that looks at all the invoices on a daily basis. And if it sees one that's, let's just say 45 days past due, we'll send an email to that customer letting them know that that invoice is 45 past due. We will send them a copy of the invoice, and then we will mark that invoice that an email has been sent. So that is something that came up today. It's not a development project. That is all something that somebody like myself, a functional consultant, can do. And not only that, a lot of our clients can do this work as well, especially adding the custom fields. So there are workflows, custom fields available to you. It doesn't impact any of the upgrades. Anything that goes beyond custom fields and workflows, we get into scripting for NetSuite. So we do have a development team that does all of our customizations. We have a lot of clients that do their own customizations with JavaScripting within NetSuite and can make Windows do certain things that, you know, go beyond the capabilities of workflows within NetSuite. So this came up last webinar. I'll be on at the end if anybody has any additional questions, but wanted to share that quick story of what happened today with this medical device company wanting to send out collection letters based on invoices that were past due a certain period of time. Mars, I'm going to go ahead and send that back to you. If there's any questions, I'll be on at the end to answer those.
That's great, Perry. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And it's current information. That's always good. All right, let's keep moving. We talked a little bit about why companies make these considerations. Now let's talk about who's made the move. We're happy about Farbest Brands. Farbest Brands is a GSI company, customer partner, manufacturer of high quality, innovative food and beverage and nutrition ingredients. We've worked with this company for quite some time. They were a JD Edwards customer. They were running software way behind on their updates, a number of releases back. They had even stopped their Oracle support because they just didn't see it being cost effective. You know, companies have gone through this model, and I would say if your company is off Oracle support today, then you really should be investigating future options with JD Edwards as well as future options with NetSuite. The first trigger point to me with a JD Edwards customer around needing to make this serious evaluation is if they're off support or they're using a third-party support company for JD Edwards as opposed to their Oracle support. But let's talk about the success with Farbest Brands. The thing that I'm excited about in talking with their team is that they love the ability to adapt transactional forms so that the users are able to see the data they need, when they need it, and how they need it. And the users are loving the experience. That's what we're finding with this customer. The integration they've got to Salesforce has been improved way beyond what they had experienced with JD Edwards. Again, this success story is really about the access to information, the rapid process that they're able to go through now to close their books, to do a number of things to create efficiencies inside their business. So they're pretty excited about making this transition. Another company is a global fitness brand that build a healthy business. They were a JD Edwards customer for many, many years, but looked at some change in the industry, recognized they needed to move from just completely change their business model. And with that change in the business model, also came an opportunity to reevaluate their ERP solution. They went in, they decided to replace JD Edwards. What were some of those key themes for them? Well, they were looking for a single source of truth, a place where they could have ERP and CRM data all inside one solution. And for them, that's NetSuite. It eliminated the need to move a lot of data around and gave them a single source of truth. They also were a company saying, hey, it's time we adopt the cloud. And for this customer, a SaaS solution was the right way to accomplish that. And then finally, the flexibility of the solution has been amazing. Not only is it address their integrations that they have, because they do have some other processes that need to be brought in alignment with ERP, but it helps them tailor the solution to be exactly what they need it to be for their future. Moving on from there, there's a multinational manufacturing business that adopts a two-tier ERP strategy. This is what I referred to earlier, where this company based here in the United States has a number of international entities. Rather than deploying JD Edwards at each of those international entities, they have looked to a two-tier ERP solution approach where they deploy NetSuite to a number of these international operations and then simply connect that data up to JD Edwards so they can pass the data into JD Edwards at a corporate level as it's needed. Provides incredible flexibility for them. They can deploy these remote locations much faster at a much lower price point. It gives them a solution that can grow, that's sustainable for them, that lets them deploy, come in and out of countries very rapidly. provides them a ability to expand. So as organizations that they've deployed internationally grow, it lets them pay over time for that growth rather than make a big investment in, 100 or 50 users at one point when initially all they really need is 10 or 20 or 4 or 5, right? Start small and grow forward and pay for it as you grow rather than pay for everything up front. Obviously, automation was a driver for all of this. It really helps this company still who runs JD Edwards corporately connect to all of these international operations and manage an international business much quicker, much easier. We've got a manufacturer of well-known cold remedies. As a matter of fact, some of you are probably taking that in this season right now, recognizing colds are going across the nation pretty rapidly right now. I think even some of our guests today from GSI are suffering with that. But this company, again, a JD Edwards customer running outdated software, really stepped back and said, hey, rather than simply looking at upgrading, because that's one of our options, let's evaluate some other solutions. NetSuite jumped to the top of that solution process. It provided a low-cost architecture, a single enterprise set of data for them, and really helped them manage both their merger and acquisition activity, as well as manage internal processes much more efficiently. You can see some of the solutions that they came out of with this transition, reducing software licensing costs. You'll see an example of that in our next section. Eliminating a lot of the in-house servers. Hey, not only did it eliminate it, they're gone, right? And with that, some of the support for those servers now is not a requirement of their IT department. Instead, IT can help enable new solutions for the business rather than keeping servers up and running. You can see from here a lot of benefits, a lot of advantage to their business, more rapidly closing their books and continuing to move forward with efficiencies throughout the business. Another example is a landscaping organization that improves with attractive financial processes. Again, we have that JD Edwards customer running the system for a long time. They had a hodgepodge of other systems in place or surrounding JD Edwards. And what they decided to do is, instead of simply upgrading to the next release, let's take a close look. Let's look at what NetSuite could offer us from an ERP perspective. And again, you see a variety of solutions. These are consistent themes. And I think we're going to summarize this theme section here pretty quickly. As a matter of fact, we do it right here. The key drivers. This is what we find when you sort of take those 4 or 5 customer examples that we provided. You're going to see a number of things that bubble to the top that all of the companies seem to be taking advantage of. One is getting out of the data center business. We're not going to have an investment, a CapEx investment in these servers to run our ERP, our CRM, our e-commerce architecture. We're going to rely on NetSuite for that. Concurrency with JD Edwards does require upgrades. You're not concurrent unless you're at a minimum applying a tools release once a year, and then probably an applications release, excuse me, pardon me, every few years. Companies want to get out of the software development business and really look to the ERP vendor to provide them great functionality. You're going to see an example in a moment of how we've sort of paired that up with a traditional manufacturer and looking at functionality within NetSuite. So I think you'll get a good feel for that. Companies that are looking to lower their TCO, right, and spend the scarce resources that companies are finding now with this economy and put those in more high value areas. Third-party capability around e-commerce is completely embedded within NetSuite, completely available to you. And then again, that one source of truth seems to rise up again and again in customers, helping them have CRM, ERP, e-commerce data all available within a single platform. So when you're thinking about NetSuite, I like people to think about numbers, right? If you're new to the NetSuite ecosystem, you need to realize there's a couple of unique things about NetSuite that didn't happen when JD Edwards was acquired. Most of you that are on the line today are probably JD Edwards customers or companies very experienced with that, or you have JD Edwards in a business unit somewhere. You realize that Oracle acquired JD Edwards when they acquired PeopleSoft. But what they didn't get is the definition as a global business unit. That means something within Oracle. It means a tremendous amount of resources are available to the NetSuite organization to help continue to build out and advance that solution. So Oracle NetSuite is a global business unit, which is way beyond where the PeopleSoft and JD Edwards acquisitions were. You're going to see NetSuite in more than 200 countries around the globe, record growth year over year, more than 32,000 individual customers, companies running on the NetSuite platform, and more than 6,000 logos just in the last 12 months. So this product is definitely on an incredible growth trajectory. Why? Because businesses are seeing the functionality meets their needs. Remember that decision that Crazy Shirts was making? They realized that ERP should be about functionality, not about hardware and servers. And so literally companies are looking at that functional requirement and seeing that NetSuite really does rise to the top. Let's look at what kind of financial impact you might be able to experience. We're at about halfway through, a little more than halfway through this presentation. So let's jump into the financials and say, hey, if we're going to evaluate this kind of a change, what might we expect as a company? Well, there's too many companies on the line today to really handle you individually. That's why you'll see at the conclusion of today's webinar, there is an opportunity if you want to have GSI help you with this kind of analytics around your business. We're glad to help you look at what the financial impact might be for you as an organization. But here's what we did. Because we license and resell both JD Edwards and NetSuite, we're very familiar at the licensing requirements. We're familiar with discount expectation that an average customer might receive. And we really tried to come up with a model that helps you look at reality, right? Not blow it up one side or the other, or come into this looking for a particular result, but just say, hey, if you did the following things, what might you experience on both sides of the ledger, JD Edwards or NetSuite? The example we've got is licensing 50 named users for a manufacturing business that does obviously distributes their own products. You'll see on this side, these are the individual JD Edwards modules that we're licensing for the number of users. You'll see on this side, these are the corresponding NetSuite packets that we are licensing so that we can provide like for like functionality. There will be some increases on the NetSuite side. There's some capabilities that don't exist on the JDE side, but I think this has been put together by experts in both areas, so they really tried to evaluate the functionality that an example business might require. With that, you can see the total licensing cost, and you can see the total licensing cost on the NetSuite side. Software licensing perpetual, software licensing under a SaaS agreement. Now let's take a look. When this presentation completes, we are going to provide notes, so you will get the advantage of being able to have some of this detail. You don't have to try to write it down. We felt it was important, particularly on the NetSuite side, to sort of give you some of the background behind these packets and tiers of functionality so you could experience and see some of that for yourself. But moving on from there, what you're going to see are some financial models, a 3-year model of JDE versus NetSuite, with that same group of 50 manufacturing users for a sample company, a 5-year and a 10-year model. And we're also pretty consistent across the board in our approach here. You'll notice that JD Edwards with Oracle requires a 22% annual maintenance fee of the net purchase price of your software. So we took that $800,000+ net purchase price, we discounted it by 40% to come down to a net purchase price, and then we factor our maintenance, ongoing maintenance based on that. One thing we didn't do here is we didn't include maintenance accelerators. Those things can happen. We just chose to keep a very flat line model. We also included in these models the ability to have managed services. So you would assume there's a layer of managed services. We utilize $6,000 a month for what we call in JD Edwards world CNC, DBA, a customer care director that's managing your engagement, as well as JD Edwards monitoring, that as a single package at that amount. And then we also include an annual tools upgrade and at least one application upgrade during this 3-year term, right? All of those costs are broken down. You can see the categories on the JD Edwards side. And then you can see the corresponding categories in NetSuite. With NetSuite, we've got software maintenance and infrastructure, which is included with your licensing cost. Upgrades are automatic. We include an initial implementation of the software in this 3-year model. And then we've also included managed services so that once NetSuite is up and running, if you have questions, or like Perry's example earlier, you want to have somebody come in and tune or tweak something for you, you've got a service level agreement that's in place for that. So again, we really try to keep similar capabilities as far as the customer's level of support. You can see there's a great advantage with NetSuite over during that 3-year term. The numbers do, of course, as you might think, expand over time. In the 5-year model, you can see we apply a couple of things, a tools upgrade a year. We do anticipate 2 application upgrades during a 5-year window, and then you'll see the same consistent approach from a NetSuite perspective. Now the TCO really begins to grow on the NetSuite side. And then, of course, 10-year model. Some of the same things. Tools upgrades are accomplished each year. There's 4 different application upgrades during that 10-year window. And you can see we're being consistent in how we're applying the costs from the NetSuite side. So if you're wanting to evaluate a financial impact, we have the ability, because we license JD Edwards and we license NetSuite, to look at your licensing model you have today and help you really manage that at a much lower level. Really take a look at your specific example as it stacks up here for that 3, 5, and 10-year window. Happy to help with that. And if interested, you can reach out at the conclusion of the presentation today. So there's some things to think about. Definitely an opportunity for lower TCO across the board with a sampling like you've just seen. The last section we want to talk about is, can NetSuite deliver the required functionality? Again, remember the crazy shirts model? Hey, SaaS ERP is about functionality. I don't have to worry about infrastructure. That's now taken care of for me. Here's what we found, and we utilized team members from both our JD Edwards and NetSuite consulting practices to look at some 50 key requirements around a manufacturing and distribution company. Now, all of us know there's more. There are other things that you do as a company of that size and focused on those areas, but we felt these were important things for your consideration, and our consultants felt that across the board, this is what companies are looking for. So you've got the general technical items in this evaluation, and you see some, quite a bit of similarity here. Of course, on-prem or cloud would only be JD Edwards because Oracle is SaaS based, and that's where these two items line up here. But across the board, you're going to find a lot of similarity in the product's ability to deliver functionality. And what we're seeing from the financial analysis we've done is it does it at a much lower price point with a lot of flexibility from our customer testimonials, providing companies with a single source of truth, a single place to go for all of their information. This analysis continues. There's a second page focused now more on the sales and marketing side. We did bring up the whole omni-channel experience is supported with NetSuite. It is not with JD Edwards. You've got to have some third-party applications in there to support omni-channel. Marketing automation from a CRM perspective also supported with the NetSuite platform. And the CRM product that's built into NetSuite is quite a bit more sophisticated than what you'll find in JD Edwards. We did list that JD Edwards does have CRM, although I think most companies would agree that the JD Edwards CRM platform is not typically what they use for day-to-day operations, maybe for more of a service warranty environment, but usually not much beyond that. And then continuing on from there, we go on with other capabilities, other requirements, things, again, that stand out for us. That integrated e-commerce platform clearly drives a lot of value around the NetSuite experience. So we're trying to I'm trying to recognize that the mind can only comprehend what the seat can endure. We're running at about 45 minutes right now. We're going to bring this into a pretty quick close. As you consider NetSuite, some things we'd like you to focus on is that if you're looking for a solution that is designed as SaaS, that is designed for the cloud, then you need look no farther than NetSuite's ERP solution. It was built for the cloud. It's a multi-tenant platform, and it's all built on the Oracle stack of technology. As Perry pointed out earlier, you have point and click customization capability. You can make adjustments to this solution. You're not locked in place. You've got a built-in platform that you can enable and work forward from. From a solution perspective, all of your ERP capability is built in. You also have the benefit of omni-channel e-commerce, full CRM, lots of business functionality within that stack. And that extends itself to multi-language capability, multi-currency capability, helping you with your non-US units and operating as a single business. The other thing that's nice about the NetSuite platform that you're not really going to find in JD Edwards, there's a lot of vertical integration. So if you're an advertising company, there's unique capability in the product specifically designed for that group. Same with media and publishing, same with manufacturing or wholesale distribution and retail. Product built, suited for a specific industry, right? Industry overlays that can be turned on and implemented. And of course, because it's built on an Oracle framework, you've got all the advantage of that advanced Oracle technology, whether it's AI, machine learning, you name the list. We're going to bring this to a close. Let me give you a call to action, some things for you to think about as you evaluate your future with NetSuite. There's a number of things that GSI offers. Lunch and Learns are basically just free consultation opportunities to sit down with your company, talk over maybe a 1 hour lunchtime, help companies understand the capabilities that could be in NetSuite that would help you in a specific area, really let you get at a deeper level than we're having today. The same can be true from a business process assessment. Some companies come to us and say, we really want you to evaluate our procure to pay process or the budget to actual process. We want to look at that, see how it's done in NetSuite compared to what we're doing today with JD Edwards. We can get at a very granular level there and then help support your evaluation model. And then a cloud assessment can be beneficial as well. Looking at what you're doing with whether you're hosting JD Edwards today in a cloud platform, whether you're handling it on premise, and comparing that to a SaaS ERP strategy with NetSuite, providing financial comparisons as well as functional comparisons. Those are 3 things we would offer to you to say, let us know how we can help. Moving on from there, you'll see you can find lots of content that GSI provides. If you go to our YouTube channel, you're going to see tons of NetSuite and JD Edwards content that's out there. Free use. We encourage companies to utilize that. We want to help educate your users. You'll see that there's webcasts like we're having today, but we also offer workshops. Those workshops are hands-on. Whether that's a NetSuite workshop where your users are working in an environment alongside of us, or it's a JD Edwards environment. We do those for Orchestrator, we do those for upgrade workshops in a number of areas. So we really want you to take advantage of the free educational resources that we offer. You've got a large social media presence that's available. Quickest, simplest place to go gather information about GSI is our YouTube channel. So I would encourage you, jump out there. You're going to find lots of free content that benefits your business. Up next, this webinar, one just like it, will be offered in December. You may have some team members that didn't participate today or couldn't. You may have heard something today that you want other members of your team to hear about. I'd encourage you, be watching for announcements from our company. They'll start coming out in another couple of weeks, inviting and encouraging people to attend a webinar just like this in the month of December. And then last but not least, there is a site, a microsite you can go to start picking up some additional content around making a move like this, what other companies do when they consider an assessment of moving from JD Edwards to NetSuite. So with that, we've got a few minutes left. We're at 11:48. I want to make sure we've got time for Q&A. And Olivia, let me turn it back to you just to see, are there any questions that have been logged, or if we have some people that have questions they'd like to bring up?
Yeah. Once again, you can ask questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom console. But we do have a few, so we can get started with that. The first question I have is, what is the difference between eBusiness Suite and NetSuite?
Okay, Rob, you're on the line. why don't you talk with us a little bit? You can share the difference between eBusiness and NetSuite.
There you go. I had to get off mute. Well, eBusiness Suite is the legacy Oracle on-premise application, ERP application. It's the original ERP application Oracle developed. It's part of the Apps Unlimited or on-premise applications for Oracle these days. It's eBusiness Suite, JD Edwards, and PeopleSoft. NetSuite is a total rewritten, or actually total new product that Oracle had purchased a few years ago, written specifically for a cloud environment or a SaaS subscription-based environment. What Oracle has done is kind of moved their EBS, PeopleSoft, and JD Edwards. They kind of combined the benefits of all those products into what they're calling Cloud ERP, or their cloud platform application products. So there are three different offerings. You have the on-premise, you have the Oracle Cloud ERP products, and then you have the NetSuite SaaS products.
All right. Thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. Yeah, so to summarize, you've got if you're an eBusiness customer today, you're either running your software on-premise or you're running it in a cloud infrastructure somewhere, but that's not a SaaS product, software as a service. It's still a traditional on-premise license that gets put into a cloud infrastructure. With NetSuite, you've got the ability of a fully integrated SaaS solution. So software as a service, you pay a monthly subscription for the functionality you want, and then that can be deployed. Olivia, other questions?
Great. Yeah, we have a question about NetSuite automatic upgrades. So NetSuite has 2 automatic upgrades a year. Do NetSuite customers experience issues with their system during these upgrades, or how does that work?
So Perry's on the line with us. I'm going to let him come off mute and talk about that.
Yeah, thanks, Mars. So typically 2 upgrades per year, we don't experience any issues with the upgrade. Now, one of the things that NetSuite does when they add new functionality to NetSuite, they make the customers turn that functionality on. So you check a box, turn it on, accept terms and conditions of that new functionality. And if something were to break, you could turn that functionality off and figure out why that broke. If anything like that were to break, it'd be typically due to a script or something like that. But we don't find too many issues with these upgrades. Also, you get informed way ahead of time that an upgrade is coming up, and you know when you'll be upgraded. You can also request a release preview. So when you log into NetSuite, you could see potentially 2 to 3 environments. One will be your production environment. You'll have a sandbox SV environment, and then you'll have an RP environment release preview. So the release preview is a snapshot of your database, your production account, where you can go in and test out any new functionality ahead of time that you want. I can honestly tell you, in the over 100 clients that we have, I can't remember a time where we went into the release preview to test anything out. And over the last 14 years that I've been working with NetSuite, we had one issue. There was a date, some sort of date issue in the script that broke one of our scripts, but that was it. And I would say 75% of our clients have some sort of scripting within their environment. Lastly, they do provide, this is more development talk, so this is probably not my area of expertise, but they do provide information that if you are on some old scripting technology and NetSuite has updated to new scripting technology, they will let you know that these scripts need to be updated ahead of time prior to the release of the new update. So I hope that helps.
Great.
That's very helpful, Perry. And since you're on a roll right now, I'm noticing a couple of additional questions that have come in specifically to NetSuite. One's a little comparative and one's more focused. So let me ask the first one. This relates to JD Edwards has what's called a grower management module. So they support growers, kind of the field to fork solution. Just talk with us. The question is NetSuite or does NetSuite have a grower management module?
Are you talking like agricultural?
Yes, that's correct. Agricultural growth, and what you might address is if they don't have a specific module referred to that, are you working with any growers?
Is there a specific industry that this question is being asked about? Just out of
I
curiosity.
would say it
Perry?
could, it could come in. It's not with a specific industry, but I would think the wine industry would be one. That's usually where the grower management module is coming into play.
Produce or wine, Perry.
Yep.
Mars, NetSuite does not have a specific grower module,
Right.
but we have a partner that we've implemented. Perry, didn't we do the for the winery?
Yes, we do have a partner, especially specifically for wines, where they handle all of the winemaking and that sort of thing, fully integrated with NetSuite. And then there are other solutions for produce and things like that, industry-specific solutions that can be integrated with NetSuite and have been as well.
Hey, Perry, just touch a little bit on how those third-party apps are all validated and how NetSuite looks to partners to develop those industry-specific applications.
Yeah, so NetSuite's designed to run your whole business, and it can't be the end-all for every organization. So let's just take example for wines or growers. They're an ERP system, right? They're an accounting system that handles inventory very well, handles manufacturing very well, CRM, case management, e-commerce. When it comes to some industry-specific solutions, like wine or growing produce or whatever that may be, it's designed to fully integrate to either niche systems that are available out there. And what's missing from niche systems, like a grower's ERP, it's the financial package that's missing. So when you put the two together, you end up with a very, very powerful ERP system. Now, there are third-party solutions already built for a lot of these industries, and that's where we can look to third parties to help with those integrations and not have to build something or integrate something out of the box. Now, NetSuite goes through a vigorous cycle with many of these third parties. If you were to go to suiteapp.com, anything that's on suiteapp.com is something that is built for NetSuite. And what that means is that NetSuite has vetted these solutions out and said, yes, you can go ahead and use these solutions with NetSuite. So it's kind of a badge of honor, if you will, for the third party to work with NetSuite. Now, there are several third-party solutions out there that are not on suiteapp.com. We use a lot of them. It's not to say that they're not great solutions. They are. But those solutions that are on this website go through a more, they're building their solutions for NetSuite and kind of want the blessing of NetSuite. So they kind of take the investment approach of making sure that NetSuite's okay with their solution. I hope I explained that well.
I think you did, Perry. Great job. Hey, we've got just a few more minutes left before we wrap. There was another question that came in around AP automation. So Perry, maybe you can address this for us. Does NetSuite have AP automation, including approval workflow and invoice image storage?
So yes, it does. And this is actually something fairly new to NetSuite, this last release. They've always had the approval workflows, specifically around purchase orders, receiving AP bills. The workflows have already been there. Now, what they've just released in this newest release is OCR technology, where you can scan an invoice. It starts to learn what those invoices look like. And if it doesn't know, you can map it. So the next time you scan an invoice from the same vendor, you'll understand how to enter that in NetSuite. So that's new functionality that NetSuite has come out with full AP automation and banking automation as well, to ACH and pay those bills. And then there's a whole slew of third-party products out there that allow you to do even more robust AP automation. Bill.com, Mineral Tree, Tipalti, Avid Exchange is somebody that we use quite a bit with our clients. So these third parties were fantastic over the years. I'm excited to try the new AP automation from NetSuite. That's very, very new, just came out in this last release.
That's great, Perry. Hey, thank you so much. Perry, Rob, thank you for your investment of time today. We appreciate it. I'm sure our attendees also appreciate your experience and expertise. Thanks for helping gather information for this presentation today. We want to just express our appreciation to everyone who joined us. Thank you for making time. And Olivia, we're going to wrap it up here. I'm sure there will be some follow-up that we provide or make available to all the attendees from today. Do you have any final comments, Olivia?
Nope, just be on the lookout. We'll be, there'll be a recording of this and we can send the presentation out as well. So.
Great. All right, everyone stay healthy during the holidays. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Thank you again for your attendance today.
Thanks, Mars.
Thank you.